Welcome everybody. You're watching the Acquisition Council, the monthly show that takes a deep dive into the best practices and technology to help your dealership evolve its street purchase strategies. Today we're talking about finding your acquisition champion with Tom and Mark from the Vehicle Acquisition Network, two of the most versed and knowledgeable subject matter experts on street purchase strategies and auto remarketing. Today's topic will definitely be useful for our used car managers out there. So gentlemen, let's jump right in, shall we? Tom, Mark, great to see you guys.
Great to see you, David.
Thank you. Okay, so listen, interesting topic today. Let's jump right in. Today we're talking about finding your vehicle acquisition champion, okay? And our first question is, why does each dealership need someone dedicated to this role?
Well, it's a complicated role oftentimes, and having one individual reduces any type of confusion. And there is an old automotive analogy that says one throat to choke. So you always know who's responsible and who's accountable for private party purchases in the dealership. So I think that's one of the leading points, having a dedicated individual.
Yeah, I agree with that. We also find that buying cars from consumers is tough work. In fact, we also find that it's more challenging to buy cars from consumers than it is to sell cars to consumers. So if a salesperson or an acquisition person has a number of channels to buy cars from, we find the path of least resistance may often have the cars from consumers be ignored. So if you have somebody dedicated, that's their sole responsibility and sole job. It won't be passed up for other easier paths.
Yeah, that makes sense. Next question. What are the most common elements among the most successful dealerships?
I'll start off with that one. This reminds me of a conference. This reminds me of our conference that we had either in 2016 or 17, where we had a panel, and two of the members in the panel were Gary Wade, who's a dealer from Minnesota, and David Long, who's a dealer from California. Now, these two described completely opposing descriptions of who their ideal buyer was. Where one wanted a young person that didn't have a lot of experience, like a Starbucks barista. The other wanted somebody who was a veteran with 10 or 20 or 30 years in the experience, or in the industry, rather. One provided ranges, one had exact offers. So their processes and the description of their individuals were almost completely opposing on every aspect. Both had high levels of success, but the commonalities between them was positive attitude. That was one of the most important things. Work ethic, that they worked to plan. And the third is communication skills. So if somebody has a great attitude, great communication skills, and a great work ethic, that was the common ground that we saw among these two.
Yeah, that makes sense. Good attitude. Listen, if you whistle to work, it makes it much better.
No question about it. David Long is probably one of the preeminent leaders and one of the first people who really actively started buying private party, as Gary Wade also was. But I love one of David Long's quotes about getting started with an individual is called step zero. So before we begin with any training, any process, it's mindset matters. So it's really making sure that they have a positive attitude and that their mindset is right before they begin.
Excellent. All right, so that's a tough process getting people on board, right? What are some of the key training components that dealerships should be enforcing when onboarding new acquisition talent?
The first thing would be the talk tracks. Are you going to have like hard scripts that somebody has to remember or recite and perfect, or are they going to have just high-level talking points, just like word tracks, or not word tracks, but just talk tracks, just high-level things to stick to? So I'd say really articulating the communications with the consumers is paramount.
We intentionally use the word champion because we believe that someone in this position buying vehicles from private party sellers should be an advocate for the sellers in the dealership. So they should want to try to get the best possible, fair market value for the vehicle and to make their experience at the dealership as painless as possible. So we think that the champion with the right mindset makes that happen.
Yeah, that makes sense.
One thing I'll add to that also,
Yeah.
other training that we find is important, which our team, our performance management team, has a lot of experience, is the nuances of each platform. So Facebook is different than AutoTrader, which is different than Car Gurus. So really the training is understanding how each one of these platforms operates and how you can maximize the time that you're investing in each of these. So some you have to have a profile, some you don't. With Facebook, we recommend either using a personal profile or a professional profile. And so training is important to help understand and maximizing your time.
Well, it's interesting. That leads me right into this next question. What elements need to be taken into consideration when developing this process?
For a champion?
Yep.
Well, I think
The training process.
Yeah, that's Tom had mentioned earlier, talking about some of the traits for champions to have them. So I think tenacity, right? So you face a lot of rejection, as we do even in automotive sales, but oftentimes consumers are resistant when a dealership reaches out to them thinking that there must be some type of a bad surprise at the end. So the more that an individual can do to allay those fears and put someone at ease is important. And that goes back to the champion. You know, that type of an attitude or personality.
Well, that's great. That's a good role for somebody out there. That's a great role. I hear that someone starts calling me a champion when I walk into work. Man, I'm staying. I'm sticking around. Great to see you guys. Thanks so much for today. Thank you so much for tuning into this month's episode. Tom and Mark, as always, come with some incredible knowledge, and I feel like I learned so much, and it's just a really great time hanging out with these guys. If there's anything that this show didn't answer for you, and these guys could answer later, please call Tom and Mark. They are ready to take your calls. This is the Vehicle Acquisition Council. On behalf of everybody at the Vehicle Acquisition Network, thanks so much. See you next time.